If you ever want to drive a narcissistic or toxic person crazy, do this. Let's get into it. Welcome to another video, and thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it. The topic discussion for today's video is the gray rock method. Okay, and we're going to get right into that with no hesitation, no time to waste. You may or may not have heard the term used before, but gray rock is essentially just a form of communication between yourself and, the toxic or narcissistic person in your life. Once you're in that place where you know that the relationship is unhealthy for you, like this isn't one that you can remain in, and you're looking for your next steps, like your next course of action, you'll implement this to keep yourself safe and protected. So let's expound on it more. As we know, when you are in a toxic relationship, right, manipulation, control, and supply, like those are always going to be the main focus. Okay. Let me know down in the comment section if you remember moments specifically where you were being deliberately triggered by something that your toxic or narcissistic person said or did, like right there in the moment. Let me know. Speak your truth and share that. I am curious to see the different scenarios and setups that you all have experienced with that. But if you think back on it, there were moments where you were being deliberately triggered, whether it was just you and that person alone, but mainly it would happen when there was an audience, like there was probably more people around and there was something said that kind of threw you off. It was jarring, and maybe you didn't know how to react to it in the moment. You were asking yourself, like, are they serious? And maybe depending on what they said, you did react. Okay. So we're going to get into that, and we're going to talk about the gray rock method and how we can use that to protect ourselves for the time where we are still in communication with this narc or toxic person before we go into no contact and we make our way out. If you do your research on it, look it up. What gray rock means is essentially you are non-reactive. You're non-reactive. Like it is a form of mental gymnastics. Once you wrap your mind around the concept of how they think and what their target goal is, it is to control you, it is to manipulate you, and it is to gain supply from you. Narcissists and toxic people get a great, pious, abundant sense of supply from you when they can trigger you to react. Okay, so I'll set it up for you. So let's say you are sitting around like with family watching a movie, right? And the narcissistic or toxic person like deliberately says something forward or out of the way about one of the characters in a movie in a way that would make you feel uncomfortable or in a way that throws you off. Ladies, your narc guy may have just been overly sexual with their commentary, or, fellas, your lady narc, or whatever the case may be, they may say something like deliberate about a guy in the movie when all your family is sitting around. And this is just a random example, but that was done deliberately, and that was done by design to trigger you. Whether they were successful in doing that or not, that's exactly what they were trying to do. You may be like out in public at the store, at the grocery store. You may be standing in the checkout line together, and the narc or toxic person that you're in a relationship with, like they blatantly say something about one of the cashiers, or they are checking out like other people's body parts, or they make a snide or something like that. And again, I'm just giving you examples. That was designed to trigger you. You were supposed to react to that. Now, whether you did or not, hopefully like it wasn't too over the top, but they did that on purpose because they get enjoyment out of that. Think of it like an adolescent child, because to me, essentially, what narcissism represents for me is, being emotionally underdeveloped. So they'll do things like to get attention, to like make a scene. But what this also does is it puts them better in a position to control the narrative, and it gives them a point of reference, especially if they did this in front of an audience. Now, they may try to be slick or sly about it in a sense to where once you're reacting, they can play victim and act like they don't know what set you off or what happened. So you have to be aware of this. No narc is created equal. All right. And there's levels to everything. So it's just something to be mindful for. But I'm sure if you give yourself time and you kind of think back on your experience, whether you're still there or you've already begun your healing journey once you went no contact and parted ways, they were looking for moments to deliberately trigger you based on something that they said or did. So that's just what I want to cover. All right. What I will say about the gray rock method is once you understand how their minds work, once you understand deliberately like that they're trying to trigger you and they're trying to set you off in front of people and get you out of your character and make you uncomfortable. They're trying to, suck that supply from you. Once you know that they're performing and this is being done intentionally, in my opinion, it made it a lot easier for me to be able to, again, reverse engineer it and counteract it because I knew what it was that they were doing. I wasn't sitting there to myself, trying to compose myself and asking myself, is this being done deliberately? Are they trying to piss me off? Like, why would they say something like that with all my family? Like, I no longer had to go through that random battery of questions because I already knew what it was. So now that we're here and we're discussing it and we're sharing information about it, you'll know what to do. So if you're in that place for whatever reason where you haven't been able to go no contact yet and you hadn't made your exit, you want to implement the gray rock method at all costs as much as humanly possible. I will say it does take restraint, discipline, resolve, and it is a form of mental gymnastics. Make no mistake about it. It is a form of mental gymnastics because what we also know about toxicity and dealing with narcissistic people is the more that you're able to remain poised and compose yourself, the more they're going to push. It just comes with it. So be on the lookout for that too, which is why I say that there is a form of mental gymnastics behind it. The more that you're able to keep your cool in situations where they're deliberately trying to trigger you to get supply, they're going to push harder. In the mind of a toxic person or a narc, it's like when they're not able to manipulate you, control you, or siphon supply from you, it's a form of narcissistic injury. And with narcissistic injury comes narcissistic rage. So you have to be ready at all times and you have to be prepared. And I don't want to be melodramatic and make it seem like they're going to completely lose it. Like they're going to have a toxic narc meltdown. They're going to implode. I don't know to what extent based on your toxic narcissistic person, what that narcissistic injury is going to do to them. But I do know it's something that you need to be aware of. And it depends. It's if they're low on supply, they're looking to get that charge, they're always looking to get that charge. They're looking to get that charge and they try to set you up to trigger you or to get you to go out so they can get that supply from you and you don't do it. It's going to irritate them. It's going to upset them and you're going to notice it. If you're able to step back outside of yourself as you're going through this sequence with them, and it's deep, it's psychological warfare. It is. If you're able to step outside of yourself and observe, you're going to see it's going to have an adverse effect on them once you're able to implement that gray rock. And it's also going to make them wonder if they're being found out. That's one of the things that narcissists and toxic people fear most, is being found out. And I'll be making a video on that in the very foreseeable future so we can discuss that as well based on my experience. But that's the thing that they fear most, is being found out. Being found out and being exposed. Because there's levels to that too. It's one thing for them to come to a place where they're starting to wonder if you're realizing what's going on with them and that they're insecure and that they're not the person that they presented themselves to be. That's something that they walk around with all day, worrying or being afraid that someone's going to see that they're not what they portrayed themselves to be and they're not what they say they were. It's a facade. They always carry that around. That's kind of what their insecurity is built up on. But being exposed is not something that they can handle at all. They'll relocate. They'll move to another city and state to prevent that from happening, just to be able to control a narrative, right? So educate yourself on it more. The gray rock method. This is, again, when you're in that place where you can't quite go no contact yet. And for whatever reason, because you have a business together, you're in a lease, you are cohabitating, you're parallel or co-parenting, you work at the same place. If you have to communicate with these people at all, Gray rock is the method that you want to use. And just to keep it simple and plain, that means as much as possible remaining non-reactive, mild, and monotone with everything that they say and do. But I like to take it another step further and just be very short. Yes, no, maybe, okay, why not? Like very mild. Like I'm not giving them any excitement, because you got to understand, man, when you're dealing with a toxic person like that, they thrive on being able to control you. They thrive on being able to set you off. They thrive on an ability to be able to say or do something that's going to take your joy from you and take your peace. It's like Nas, you know what I mean? It's like Narc Nas, for real. It's like them being put on the charger. It's like nuclear. The levels of supply they get from planting seeds and sitting back and watching you overreact and just lose it. Like get beside yourself, especially if you're in front of other people and you have an audience. Because again, they're always looking to control the narrative, and they're always like gathering information. So if they can use this against you later, if they can play victim with the other people, you know, associates and acquaintances that you have in common, if they can use that at a later date, they will. And like I said, you got to pay attention. You got to be a strategist and an analyst at all times and pay attention, because sometimes they'll do things and they'll kind of be sneaky about it. And like I said, by the time you went off, the other people at the dinner table don't realize that you noticed that the dark person that you were with were sitting and they were like flirting or passing notes or going back and forth with, you know, one of another family member or a friend of the family or someone who was just invited to the party. Like you're noticing that and you're seeing it happen, and they know that you know, but they're doing it in a way that's kind of slick and sly where other people aren't paying attention. And again, this is just a random example, but it happens. And then when you react and when you get to calling him or her out on it and you want to know what's going on, you're losing it. Like you're making a scene at the restaurant. They're going to act like, what? Like they're going to act like they don't know what you're talking about. Okay. So educate yourself on it more, do a bit of research on it. You know what I mean? And educate yourself on the Gray Rock method and learn how you can implement that to keep yourself safe and protected as you're in a place where you're not quite ready to go no contact and you're strategizing and you're trying to figure out what your next steps are going to be. If you have to speak to these people at all, whether that be text or in person or social media, whatever, you can use that Gray Rock method. It's just making sure that you're not reacting and you're not allowing yourself to be triggered, because that's exactly what it is that they want to do. And as always, you know, we're building a community. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, drop it down in the comment section. And I encourage that way we can share information and we can speak our truths and talk about our experiences. But it also helps out the channel a lot. It pushes out the content to more people, and we have that visibility so that we're able to help others. All right. And we appreciate it. Share your experience and speak your truth in the comment section. It helps the channel so much, and it helps push out the content and creates visibility so that we can get information and help to those who really need it, who are in search of ways to protect themselves. So let's do that. And I definitely do appreciate that. And I'll, give you that love back. You give that love in the comment section. I definitely will return that. And I appreciate you so much. I'll throw my email up on the screen, askbizlifestyle@gmail.com. That is askbizlifestyle@gmail.com. Definitely don't hesitate. If you want to ask a question offline, you want to maintain a bit of anonymity, feel free to send me an email. I'll definitely respond to that. I'll throw my Instagram up on the screen as well. All lowercase letters, Worthy XII on Instagram, Worthy1212. And check the About page here on YouTube as well. And I have the links there to all my socials, the address to my P.O. box if you want to shoot anything over. The link to my Cash App and PayPal is there always. And, check the description box as well. I like to pay homage to the other creators who helped me as I was in the beginning stages of my healing journey. And I do this from a place of love and respect and appreciation and just empathy and understanding, what it's like as I'm still on the journey too, and we're on the journey together. All right. I appreciate you for taking the time. I never take that for granted. No matter big or small, I never take for granted you're spending time to actually click and watch the video. So if you made it this far, salute to you. I appreciate it. Stay tuned for much more. And I appreciate you. Until next time, till we meet again. We're out.